Now, I know what you all are thinking. This kind of video doesn't line up with what I normally do, but trust me, I have to talk about this movie. I recently saw this movie on Amazon Prime and immediately knew what I had to do. Before I knew it, my family and I sat down to watch this 70-minute flick and we were not disappointed. Without further ado, let's get into it. Trump vs. the Illuminati is a strange movie, and in this video we will go over how absolutely insane it was. I am a notorious fan of bad movies, series, and songs, so it was no surprise when I saw this that I knew I had to watch it. As me and my wife and my mother-in-law sat down to watch this movie, we were introduced to the plot right off the bat. The movie spends no time at all in explaining the premise, and not only that, it explains it 3 times in total. Each time they explain the plot, they add just a bit more info to the end of it. What is the plot, you ask? Well, it's kind of convoluted, but here goes. Basically, Trump has been cloned by the Chinese and these artificial robots, and he was made in a petri dish. Escaping said lab, he then escapes Earth to crash land on Mars, and has been there for around 1,000 years or so. They also make a really weird note about how he has large hands, which immediately reminded me of Jack Kelly's Insecurities.
His petri dish grown body, fused with the latest AI technology, possesses eternal life and large hands.
Did you see his hands? They're beautiful. I think we should settle. What?
Jesus Christ, I'm going to prison.
After we learn about Trump, we then focus on an alien praying to Anubis, who we learn is Aleister Crowley and the leader of the Illuminati. Very quickly, he is told of the prophecy of Trump, that he will be the one who brings down the Illuminati once and for all. After stating that Trump was dead, Anubis basically explains Trump's plot again, to ensure you, the viewer, knows what's going on. Once we learn of the plot for the second time, we finally see Trump stranded on Mars, riding around in his rover, only for him to go over the plot a third time, basically going over everything we learned in the first 5 minutes. I guess the directors thought their plot was really confusing, so I wanted to make absolutely sure you got it within the first 5 minutes. After we spend a few minutes watching this bad Trump impersonator ramble on about the plot, we finally learn of another clone, basically Trump's only friend, named Major Tom, who he communicates with via radio. I don't really think they thought about this character at all, because he's mentioned once or twice, then never referenced again, or he's forgotten about. Basically, Trump fears that Major Tom is what he will turn into, because Major Tom is a clone like him, and doesn't eat or drink, and since he's immortal, he's just teetering on the edge of sanity for eternity. Anyway, Trump decides to check on Major Tom, which creates a conversation about Major Tom watching American beauty pageants, and asking Trump how many girls he grabbed in the pussy. And then he gets weirdly horny, which Trump responds by telling him TMI.
I can't keep my hands off myself.
TMI, Tom. TMI.
Whatever.
Now that we've explained the plot a dozen times and introduced some nauseating sexual tension, it's time to get to the actual point of the movie. Coming in over a radio transmission, Queen Varuna, the leader of the Atlanteans, asks to meet with Trump. What ensues is the most angriest conversation that has taken place I've ever seen. You'd think he'd be happy to find someone and talk to someone after all this time, but he just basically spits in her face when she asks for help facing the Illuminati and says fuck a bunch of times.
Why are we talking? I don't give a fuck about your war. No? Then fuck off.
If we want to understand what actually happens, well, Varuna wants Trump to fulfill his part in the prophecy and take down Aleister Crowley and Lucifer, to take down the Illuminati once and for all. This prophecy is inescapable and he has to accept it, and she'll be there when he needs her. And right on cue, Aleister Crowley decides to send alien Illuminati foot soldiers to defeat Trump. It's the classic bad guy creates their own prophecy because they get themselves involved with them. If he would have never sent foot soldiers, Trump would have never left Mars, and we would have never gotten the rest of this movie. Anyway, after about 1 full minute of the worst fight scene I've ever seen. Also, side note, Trump is incredibly short, or at least looks like he is during the duration of this movie, but once he finishes beating the alien hitmen by stabbing them with their own weapons, he calls Varuna back saying that he was attacked. She explains they were foot soldiers and to be ready because they will be back. And sure enough, Aleister Crowley and his gang of gangly aliens come right down to him. Thinking they're after money, Trump tries to negotiate by giving them 10 million Chinese yen. And for some reason, Aleister Crowley actually entertains the notion and deal before just coming out and saying that he wants Trump dead. After which ensues a minute-long scene where Trump just dances on the Illuminati, and because I had to endure it, now you will too.
If you insist. Computer, play Trump's favorite playlist.
Never seen a shit stirrer like this guy.
Once the dancing comes to a stop and Trump gets beamed up by the Atlanteans, we have an important question to ask. During this interaction, Trump tried to negotiate with them by saying he had a huge cache of explosives he would activate. Why not just activate it when he got beamed up, blowing up Aleister Crowley there and taking care of him? Also, this deal comes after he talked to Varuna and already said, "I don't make deals, that was the other guy." I'm beginning to think the consistency is not this movie's strong point. After some more hostile conversation between Trump and Varuna, Trump just decides to shoot some missiles into space for fun.
What did this button do? Whoo! It's been a while! The ship's a fine piece of hardware for sure.
And we're finally introduced to Callie and Van Helsing. Yes, you heard that right, Van Helsing. Another clone, but clad in space armor with no facial detail, is Van Helsing, a badass stereotypical ladies man. We don't get a lot of background for Van Helsing's clone here, but we do know two things. He wants to fuck Callie.
For a mission, that is.
You got me hard for a second there. I prefer to blast off, then clean up.
Your vessel's in Dock 4.
How about I park my vessel in your dock when I get back?
Leave as soon as you're ready.
I love it when you talk dirty.
And he fights dragons. That's right, dragons. Anyway, Callie has a suicide mission for Van Helsing. He has to support Trump and make sure he doesn't die, while also grabbing Aleister Crowley alive. The Atlanteans need him alive because they want to test a new ideology-changing serum, meant to make him highly suggestive and possibly stop the Illuminati once and for all. Their reasoning is that they've chopped off head after head of the Illuminati, but they just keep getting replaced. So Dr. Jekyll thinks this serum is the solution and the way to end this eternal war. And then of course, Callie promises to fuck him if he does a good job.
Just remember to keep it in your pants out there, alright?
I'll be fine. I'm flying commando.
Good. Sometimes you don't even do that. This endless war will at last be won.
I bet I'll get lucky then, huh?
Help me bring peace to the universe, soldier, and I'll give you anything you want.
That's all you had to say, doll.
But for some reason, they aren't able to provide additional troops for Van Helsing to utilize. Van Helsing isn't really fazed by this though, because he says he has an insurance policy to call on for times like these. And don't worry, we'll definitely see what this is in just a minute. Before we can see that though, we get to see Lucifer himself for the first time, while Aleister Crowley prays to him. For some reason he's in a wheelchair, the only explanation coming later that he lost his legs in a war a few hundred years back to the Kennedys. And then we have a Red Riding Hood reference for no reason.
Go, my son. Go and spread hellfire, and in turn, your place in hell will be at my feet.
And what big feet you have, my lord.
Now that we've got Lucifer's introduction out of the way, we can get back to Van Helsing's insurance policy, Bigfoot, the one and only Sasquatch. For some reason, if Chinese clones, artificial beings, alien Illuminati, and alien Lucifer, Atlanteans, and dragons weren't already enough, we get a random planet inhabited by a party-loving bruiser named Bigfoot.
Van Helsing.
Long time no see, old buddy. How's it hanging?
To the left, as always.
After they navigate through a meteor storm, they make it onto their ship and abduct Aleister Crowley in the hopes of delivering the serum. After being congratulated by Callie and talking about how she screams when she's on top, they finally make their way back to the rest of the Allied forces, explaining more behind the serum, that it may result in sudden death, in hopes of suggesting Aleister should be swayed to their side. Realizing that Trump is about to fulfill the prophecy, but then he's reassured that no matter what happened to his past version of himself, it's what he does today that defines his actions forever. And then they let us know that the entrance to hell is in Dubai. They just slipped that in there.
With the exception of Dubai.
Dubai? Why was Dubai spared?
It's the entrance to hell.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Now that Aleister has been captured and Trump knows where to go, it's time for him to face off against Lucifer. They start off with some banter because apparently Lucifer has known Trump before. He was his fastest arrival and the only one Lucifer was happy to see go. After some more delightful banter, Trump tells Lucifer that the Illuminati business needs to stop and he's cashing in on his privacy chip. Something that the entire movie has made no mention as of yet, just completely dropping it out of the blue. Then it flashes back to the Allied forces wiping out the Illuminati. Lucifer, upon realizing this, is frustrated but vows the Illuminati will be back for revenge, and all of a sudden calls on the demons of the sixth dimension to wreak havoc and bring death upon the Allied forces. What then commences is about a 2-minute compilation of these demons pledging their allegiance to Lucifer. What it really feels like is they bought a 12-pack of characters on some stock marketplace, realizing they hadn't used them, decided just to throw them all into the end real quick. Once we get past the new demons introduction, we focus on Callie and Van Helsing, spending their long-awaited night together. Happy that they won the war, even though nothing has even happened. The Illuminati forces are dead, but now there's demons from the sixth dimension coming in, and the serum didn't even work on Aleister Crowley at all. And once Trump and Lucifer are brought back into focus, nothing even happens. Lucifer asks what side he's on, and we assume Trump is against him, but there is no fight, just music as the movie ends. Now at this point, I can totally understand if you're lost because I was too. Literally, the war isn't over. Every opportunity the Illuminati had, they said they would be back, or they would get replaced, or they are stronger in death, so virtually nothing has happened in this war. There's now demons coming from the sixth dimension to fuck the Allied forces up, but hey, at least Van Helsing got his climax.
Somebody's getting lucky tonight.
We did it. The Illuminati is no more.
In all seriousness and all jokes aside, this movie wasn't that great. It was a fun watch, but only because I'm the weird guy who likes really bad movies, and of course my wife does too. What did she think about it? She simply said, well, it's a movie. And she's not wrong. The studio that made this was probably a super small indie studio, and it was probably just a fun passion project for them, which I have mad respect for. I think they could have done a lot better with the storytelling, and I'm not going to critique the actual animation too hard. It's not something that I mentioned because this can be a rough situation for a lot of creators, but they used a lot of the same CGI 3D scenes over and over again instead of animating new ones. I think that instead of doing that, they could have focused on animation more if they would have just shortened the length of the movie. Yeah, there's a lot to go over, but a lot of the time was already spent re-explaining the plot in the beginning. Well guys, if you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Leave a comment letting me know what you thought. Did you watch the movie? Do you have a different opinion? Come over to my Discord and let's talk about it. Have a great day, everybody.
The question now is, which side are you on, TJ?
Call me Trump.
Bye, have a great time.